Hi, I'm Madonna Simmons and a board member of the Townsville Chamber of Commerce, and thank you for joining us again today. This is our third episode of the Chamber Chats, and what the Chamber Chats is about, it's basically to give you an understanding of what's happening here in the business circle of Townsville, how we're doing and what we're learning from each other during the COVID period, but also how we see the future as far as small to medium enterprises. So today I've got with me Michael Thorsen. He is a fellow board member and he owns XRX Business Centre. So can you tell us a little bit about your centre of business?
So XRX Business Centre, we're based in the city here, and our main business is photocopiers and print. We do software solutions, telecommunications, and we have a print shop as well, serving the public.
So tell us about who your customers would be as a business centre.
So we range from a very small business to a hairdresser with a small printer or one phone system, right up to, over this period, we're servicing Queensland Police, the hospitals, and everything through the period. So from a small business right up to enterprise-sized businesses. Okay,
so let's talk about how has business been in the past prior to COVID?
Prior to COVID, we were going really well. The whole town, in the sense we got, the whole town was starting to go well and was like hitting a cliff. With the sentiment in business everywhere, so it was a real change.
So you've come from the floods and then you were travelling okay?
Yep, travelling really well.
And then COVID. Right, okay, so you what did you do? Tell us some of the steps that you did as soon as COVID hit.
So like every business, I guess, we thought there was for sure that there was a shutdown coming, so we were preparing for that. Like other businesses, we sent a lot of our staff home. We have 32 staff in total. So out of that, we sent 9 staff to work from home. Our whole goal was to not lose anyone through the whole process. We couldn't get all our staff to work from home because our technicians need to go into businesses.
So they're services.
They're servicing, coming into businesses and going to see customers. So we had to do everything we can to protect our office staff and do distancing for our technicians without isolating them from the rest of the business to protect them, but continue. Like I said, we're doing a lot of the government departments and everything that needed to stay open during that period.
So during that time, the staff that were servicing the product, what did they end up doing? So did you put them into something else in another area of the business? Because obviously you would find that if schools are shut, then you don't need to service their product. If hospitals, you wouldn't want them going in. I don't know. Did you do some of the business as okay, we can't do this moving forward?
So as much as we could without isolating them, trying to separate them. So technicians, instead of coming into the office and talking to all the staff, we set up an area where they'd come and get their parts and then go back out. So not integrating within the business.
And what about to the customer? How did you make sure that they looked after themselves when they went out into the field?
So early on, we were lucky enough to get hand sanitizer and all the cleaning products. So we had the rules of before you go into a business, do your hands. If anyone's sick, please come back out and we'll work out another way to get it serviced. Clean the machine and continually just hand sanitizer and good cleanliness rules.
So, okay, so when you're doing the next step, with the phone system, so obviously from a phone system point of view, people are normally working in their office and they're answering their phones. All of a sudden they've had to pivot and work from home. Did you help them establish the businesses in their home via a phone system? Is there anything that you can tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. That was part of our business obviously reduced with when those first round of announcements of businesses stopping and schools shutting down. But the businesses needing to work from home kept our telecommunications side very busy. Because although a lot of people thought they could just divert all their business calls to a mobile phone and operate, it doesn't work so well. So there's a lot of challenges, and picking up a desk phone and taking it home doesn't work as well. There's a lot of things you have to do to a business to get that up and going. So
give us an example of a business that thought it was business as usual and thought, okay, now I'm going to have to do something different. I'm going to have to communicate more with my customers. Let's say, for example, a restaurant or something like that. So give us an example of, have you got a client who's a restaurant who needed to do something different?
We had a good example of that. INC Steakhouse was one to pivot very early and realised that to keep going they needed to do takeaways, or as they call it, a steakaway. But the challenge, it was really good.
It was
catchy.
Steakaway.
But they were getting the feedback on social media because their normal business only needed 2 phone lines. And when you've got a traditional phone system with 2 lines, you can only have 2 calls. So when they went online, they were getting feedback on social media that we want to do it, we want your product, but we're getting engaged signal. So for them, that was lost business.
So that would annoy the customer.
Annoy the customer, and they couldn't keep their grills busy. They're obviously geared up for a lot of customers and 2 phone calls at a time. So when we were dealing with them and talking through what they needed, we were able to put in a hosted phone system that was able to go from 2 phone calls at a time to up to 500.
So what's a hosted? Sorry, what is a hosted phone
So a hosted
system for
phone
those who don't
system
understand?
means the call control and everything is not on premise. The challenge with traditional phone system is, like I said, if you've got 2 lines, you can take 2 calls. If you've got 10 lines, you can take 10 calls. But they needed around 20 calls at a time that were getting into a queue.
So someone else is answering it?
No, so it sits in so the scenario for these guys is the call comes in and it goes into a queue.
Okay.
And they took that advantage of that time to tell customers about their product.
About the story.
But also how we're going to order. So what steak do you want? What sides do you want with it? How well do you want it? What sauce?
Ready as soon as someone actually does answer, so that it helps the customer waiting in the queue.
Correct.
To get through. Okay,
so
excellent.
With that, we were able to give them all the statistics, and they went from 2 phones and realised they needed a 3rd one to handle it. And it went from, we halved the number of calls dropping off and increased massively the amount of calls they were actually answering. But through their process of telling them how to do it, halved the time they were talking to every customer. So they could get more and more customers every night to keep that grill firing.
That is such a good news story.
Yes, and it changed from their social media saying we can't get through to, wow, great meal. So.
Wow. Okay, so the fact that IMC was a good news story, and the fact that obviously we're starting to lift COVID restrictions slightly so that the restaurants are changing in regards to the future. Do you see some of these businesses that have taken on this new phone system, do you see some of them actually staying in that space as far as takeaway is concerned?
Yeah, the feedback we're getting and talking to other businesses is it'll be a hybrid, because it's going to be quite some time before they can get back to the normal cram as many people into an area. So they want to keep that hybrid role of keeping the takeaway and keeping in premise eating as well. But
so for other small businesses, what they should be thinking about is, well, how can I use that idea and diversify maybe their own business model to take on something like that?
Yeah, and what it's all about with the hosted is getting your business ready for a disaster. I mean, you mentioned the floods we've already had. We're in a cyclone area. It seems to be something happening just about every year lately.
I know.
So but
we've got this.
We've got this one done. So it's about getting your business ready for the next one. But the other advantage of a hosted system is it brings enterprise features. Normally you'd have an 100-seat organisation down to a single person business.
Is it expensive?
No, it's a lot cheaper. So to do that same system for IMC on premise, what we call having the phone system here, you wouldn't be able to do it because the cost would be prohibitive, whereas ours is just a monthly cost per user. So it's very cheap.
Oh, wow. So really, you're getting the sales, so you're actually converting that, and that's a small overhead in comparison to what you would have lost.
Correct, yeah, absolutely.
All right. So your business moving forward, all right, so you said you had how many staff?
32.
Okay, so 32 staff. They on JobKeeper?
Yes, we dropped down enough to be able to do JobKeeper.
Okay, so moving forward, how do you see, let's talk about the future in the last few minutes that we've got at the chat. Let's talk about XRX and the business centre itself, and what do you see as some of the digital trends or things that are moving forward in your business space that you're going to be helping small to medium businesses with?
Yeah, there's a lot of trend, and the COVID kicked off a lot of people dealing with Teams or meetings online, whether it was Teams or Zoom or anything like that. So we're seeing a big increase in that demand.
Yeah.
But also on our print side, how can we digitise documents and flow documents through a business so that if they need to, they can get them from anywhere. So it's changing a lot of flows in a business. And we were the same. We had paper-based workflows that we needed to look at, because when we had staff at home, how do they process what they would normally do? So it's about improving that. So the big change is working in teams and online and collaborating.
So I think what COVID has really taught us, and as small to medium enterprises, is that we actually have to have a plan. a just-in-case plan, and the fact also that we need to think about the future. It's not just about the now, it's about the future, and making sure we maintain communication with our customers no matter what. So I think that's it for today.
Great.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you for joining into our third episode of Chamber Chats, and we'll be back soon to give you another Chamber Chats.